Hello Horror Hounds. It's been a few days since I reviewed David Cronenberg's The Fly, and the movie is still playing on my mind. There's an aspect of the film that I didn't touch upon in my review that I wanted to just focus on now briefly, and that is the heritage of the Seth Brundle character and the lineage I think you can trace between Seth Brundle all the way back to the classic Universal monsters.
I bid you welcome.
I welcome you to my house.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my home.
I think it's fair to say that an instant reaction as soon as you're looking at a film that's about a scientist whose experiment goes wrong and negatively affects them is to think about Frankenstein. And whilst the Frankenstein template wasn't set by Universal Studios, we have to go way back to Mary Shelley and once again proffer our thanks to her for that. I think after Dracula with Frankenstein, James Whale's Frankenstein, and the just phenomenal performance by Boris Karloff, I think that set a potential future template for what has sort of generally become known as Universal's sympathetic approach to monsters. Monsters with a small m, monsters in air quotes, who are outsiders, who we as an audience are asked to empathise with. Certainly wouldn't bracket Dracula in with them. He's an out and out villain and I love him for it. But I think Seth Brundle owes an allegiance to Universal's classic roster of sympathetic monsters. We can't avoid Frankenstein altogether though, let's be honest, and who would want to? Seth Brundle is a genius scientist whose creation comes back to destroy his life. It just so happens that in The Fly, Seth is himself Frankenstein and the creature in one. I think Brundle owes slightly more of an allegiance to Claude Rains in The Invisible Man. Dr. Griffin, another brilliant scientist with great aspirations for helping humanity, whose experiments affect him physically, and that physical effect on his body slowly degrades his great mind. And we talked when we were talking about The Fly about Cronenberg's negation of the Cartesian split and actually treating mind and body as one entity, and how Seth Brundle's Cartesian approach, separating mind from body, comes back to haunt him, doesn't work, and the body rebels. Well, absolutely, Claude Rains' body rebels in The Invisible Man. It's freaking invisible. And also, as a result of his experimentations, he slowly starts to lose his mind. He goes insane. He goes from a good man to an evil man, an absolute maniacal evil genius. One of the subtleties, I think, of the Seth Brundle character is he never fully flips from hero to villain, if you like. He manages to hold on to even just the barest thread at the very end of enough of his humanity that we continue to empathise with him. Maybe that wouldn't have been the case if they'd have kept in the deleted baboon cat fusion sequence, and that deleted scene, which you can find on YouTube, was actually cut because test audiences at that point lost their sympathy with Seth Brundle, and it was very important for the movie that you empathise both with the Gina Davis and the Jeff Goldblum character. This level of empathy with your small M monster is the juice that runs all the way through these classic Universal monster movies, Dracula aside. He brought to mind Larry Talbot, especially in the Wolfman sequels. Talbot, played by Lon Chaney Jr., is an immensely sympathetic character, tortured by his curse, cursed with something that has taken over and transforms his body, and during the full moon in the sequels, transforms his personality into a killer. He's ceaselessly searching for either a cure or death. An audience's allegiance to him and our sympathies for him and us wanting him really to succeed makes it very easy for us to align Seth Brundle with the type of Larry Talbot character who is searching for a cure or redemption or death if the first two aren't possible. Once Goldblum is in full body makeup, so rather than Seth Brundle now, we're fully into Brundle fly territory, and I think you could align Brundle flying easily with the classic roster of Universal monsters. Once he's in full body prosthetics, he brings to my mind, conjures images of Quasimodo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame from 1923, Lon Chaney Sr.'s classic movie. There's a brief shot in The Fly of Brundle fly on the roof of his apartment building, and he's listening down to Ronnie and Stathis talking, and that's how he finds out that she's pregnant and she's going to go and have an abortion. All of those scenes on the rooftop instantly make me think Quasimodo, in Notre Dame in Sanctuary, at a physical remove, looking out at the world and the life beyond, that he's Quasimodo literally cloistered away from, but has to separate himself from because he's so different, so other. A person on the street's instant reaction to their physical appearance belies the humanity beneath. Seth Brundle, Quasimodo, exactly the same. And I'll be honest with you, when Brundlefly goes and essentially kidnaps Veronica, takes her away from the abortion clinic, visually, him swinging in, scooping her up and taking her off, she doesn't really fight it. If you look at the scene, there's a portion of her that almost seems relieved that this isn't happening, but visually that sequence in The Fly aligns itself almost exactly in my mind to the sequence in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, where Quasimodo swings down from the cathedral and saves Esmeralda from the punishment that's about to be meted out to her, and takes her back to Notre Dame and into the safety of Sanctuary. The tragic end of Seth Brundle, Brundlefly, killed at the hands of the woman he loves, is just a classic Universal tragic ending, Bo. The instant analogy is, for me, the ending of The Wolfman, where Larry Talbot has to be killed by his own father. Again, Claude Rains, with the cane with the wolf's head on top, made of pure silver. So where in The Fly, Seth, it's a loved one, it's his loved one that ultimately kills him and gives him some sort of peace. To me, that has huge echoes of the ending of the original Wolfman, where it's Larry's own father that ultimately has to kill him to give him the peace that he's been craving for so long. And that's a bit of a downer to end on. So to end on a little bit of a light note, going back again to when Brundlefly carries Ronnie back to his apartment studio, any shot of Brundlefly carrying Veronica echoes any number of great Universal creatures carrying women off in their arms. Quasimodo carrying Esmeralda, Frankenstein's creature carrying anyone, the Mummy carrying any number of women, and the Gill Man carrying the lovely Julie Adams away, and honestly, who can blame him? So, tell me what you think. Does Seth Brundle, Brundlefly, have a strand of DNA that's not just from a fly in him, but some of the DNA of the classic Universal monsters shot through him as well? And is that one of the ways that Cronenberg has utilised to elicit our continued sympathy and empathy for a character who is, on paper, turning into the monster?